רגע, אני אפתח את זה, אבל תן בדיקה בקטע של... שישמעו, שלא יהיה כאילו... רגע, אתה יודע מה?
רציתי למצבה? אוקיי, דבר.
סבבה. Welcome and good evening.
כן, כן.
בסדר? אוקיי, מעולה.
אנשים שיפנו בכל we're online.
Okay, quick one.
I'm so proud of every single one of you guys.
Everybody smile.
Hey, nice
to meet you. Nico.
Whatever, I don't know. How you like the Zusha?
Everybody clap.
Yes. Well, actually, don't
Does anyone see my name?
very open.
I thought they put it over your shoulder.
Well, there's two of us technically.
Big mistake on my part. Should have held it. How am I down? Josh, you good now?
You're looking very fresh, Professor John. Very fresh. I know. You have the extra note? Did you change it?
Everyone, we will begin in approximately 2 minutes, so please begin to find your seats. Thank you.
Is that the MSI patch in your pocket?
Yeah.
Can I see what it looks like?
Hi, everyone. Welcome and good evening. I'd just like to remind everyone to please turn their cell phones into silent mode. Thank you very much. My name is Rowie Hill-Cohen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Physician's Oath ceremony of the 25th class for the Medical School of International Health. Allow me to introduce our honored guests, Director of the Medical School for International Health, Professor Alan Jotkowitz, Professor Benjamin Tarragon, MSIH Associate Director of Academic Affairs, Professor Mark Clarfield, MSIH Associate Director for Global Health, Professor Shimon Glick, Emeritus Dean of the Faculty for Health Sciences, and Dr. Alyssa Friedman, MSIH Assistant Director for Student Affairs. And of course, our distinguished guest of honor, alumna of the class of 2011, Dr. Lily Gutnick. Distinguished guests, faculty members, students, family, and friends here in Beersheba, and those watching live from around the world, thank you all for honoring us with your presence. I would like to invite Professor Alan Jotkowitz to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you, Roe, and I'd also like to welcome everyone to the 25th annual Physician's Oath Ceremony of MSIH. Honored guests, family, friends, Mr. Ambassador, and most importantly, class of 2026. At the Physician's Oath Ceremony, which officially welcomes the new class to the professions of medicine, I usually talk about the central role of the doctor-patient relationship plays in the practice of medicine. How being a good doctor entails at its core the ability to empathize and care for the individual patient in front of you. And I usually bring examples from my own clinical practice and experiences. And I end with the famous quote from the Harvard physician Francis Peabody of almost 100 years ago and still rings true today. The secret of caring for the patient is caring for the patient, which encapsulates the credo of our school and medicine in general. But this evening, I want to talk about something a little different, the story of our beloved school. In the late 1990s, two visionary pediatricians, one a world-renowned medical educator from Ben-Gurion University, Dr. Carmi Margolis, who is with us tonight, and the other, a pioneering global health physician from Columbia, Dr. Richard Deckelbaum, thought the world needed a medical school devoted to training physicians in global health. And they went around promoting this idea. People thought Carmi could tell you the story later. I'm sure he'd welcome to tell you the story of the beginning of MSIH, but they thought they were crazy. But somehow they created a partnership between Ben-Gurion University and Columbia University. And in 1998, matriculated the first class of MSIH. This was done through the efforts and help of Dr. Yaakov Henkin, who is here today, Dr. Lynn Quattel, who is director of our New York office and is watching, I think, live right now. Hi, Lynn. Dr. Asher Moser, who is here today. Dr. Stavi Baram, I'm not sure if she's here today, but these pioneers helped create our school. And we also have to give thanks to the first class of 26 students who, I'm not sure how they did it, but decided to trust Carmi and Richard and start their medical education in the middle of the desert of Beersheba. It was very different 25 years ago, and they all graduated as successful physicians. And this amazing team was joined by a charismatic, globe-trotting, guitar-strumming geriatrician, Mark Clarfield, who took over the reins of MSH in 2009. And we also owe him a great debt of thanks. So, but what isn't a nice story? But why is this relevant to you guys today as you take your oath of allegiance, commitment, and dedication to the profession? I think it's because you, like the Carter class of 2002, are committed to a life of service and dedication to your patients and have a dream to make the world a better place in your own personal way. And that's the impression I get when meeting and talking to each of you. I've begun to have individual meetings with you, and you all have this passion for medicine and service and commitment, which gives me a lot of professional satisfaction. So, but you might ask yourself, in this fragmented and tumultuous world we unfortunately live in, how can a single graduate of MSH make this difference? And the answer is readily available. All you have to do is look at practically any graduate of MSH, some who are sitting in this room. In a few minutes, you will hear from Dr. Lily Gutnick, who has dedicated her life to improving the life of patients in sub-Saharan Africa with breast cancer. And let me mention a few other alumni with an apology in advance for all those who I have left out. Dr. Noel Nelson, in the class of 2004, is chief of the prevention branch in the Division of Viral Hepatitis at the CDC. And her life mission is to eliminate viral hepatitis around the world. Dr. LaShawn MacGyver is also a 2004 graduate. Our graduation speaker, I think last year or 2 years ago, serves as the director of the Office of Minority Health at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Service. And she has dedicated her life to erasing racial inequalities and inequality in underserved populations in healthcare, which unfortunately exists around the world. And she controls a budget of billions of dollars, which is dedicated to trying to erase these disparities. Dr. Joseph Saccharin, an alumni of 2005, and a personal victim of gun violence, has dedicated his life to eliminating gun violence in America to the best of his ability, and has been in the forefront of seeing that gun violence is a public health as well as a political issue, and has won many awards for these endeavors. We have Dr. Jordan Lowe, who works locally as an obstetric gynecologist at the Yakima Valley Family Workers Clinic in Topanish, Washington, and Women's Health Medical Director for remote area medical in Guyana. She's a perfect emblem of an MSH graduate, working in underserved populations in the United States and also overseas, where she manages a wide-ranging cervical cancer screening and prevention program. In addition, she's a mentor to many of our MSH students, and she welcomes students into our clinic. And we have Shannon Meyerstein, who was here a couple of years ago as the Physician's Oath speaker, who is a 2010 graduate, Lieutenant Commander of the United States Public Health Service, and dedicated his life for caring for migrant children at the border between America and other countries. Some of these children come over alone, and Dr. Meyerstein is responsible for the health of these thousands of children every year. So this is just small little individuals who are making incredible contributions to the health. And we have Rachel Prope, who graduated in 2011, and she is the medical director and head surgeon at Freedom from Fistula's obstetric fistula program in Malawi. I don't know if Lily knew about that connection. She also does work in Malawi. But she's dedicated her life and career and is passionate about female sexual health and trying to solve the problem of fistula formation in young female patients in Africa. But also locally, we don't have to go as far as Malawi or Guyana. We have physicians in Israel who are dedicated to making the world a better place. We have sitting with us Dr. Alyssa Friedman, who is a family health physician here in Beersheba, and also a mentor for many of MSH students, who's dedicated her career to taking care of patients in Beersheba. And also sitting here is Dr. Bensi Samueli, who is passionate about the teaching of pathology to students in our program and the Israeli program, and brings it to life. And lastly, I'd like to mention Dr. Adam Goldstein, who was the Physician Oath speaker last year, who was chief of trauma surgery at Wolfson Hospital, but also is head of Operating Together, an organization dedicated to creating paths of respect and cooperation between Israeli and Palestinian surgeons. And Dr. Goldstein just returned from a medical mission undertaken by the Ministry of Health of Israel to Ukraine, where he worked as a trauma surgeon there. So you have many mentors in front of your eyes you can look for how to make the world a better place. And what all these amazing people have in common is a passion for what they do. You can feel it when you hear them talk about their work. I'm sure we'll hear from Lily, and I'm in awe of all these people. We heard from Lily this afternoon and yesterday, and by listening to these people, it's not just work, it's a passion and a life dream that they have and commitment to sort of serve patients wherever they be. So these mentors can, if you have them in your mind, they can be mentors for you as you pursue your career in medicine. But you have an advantage from these early graduates that didn't have. Our wonderful alumni. Take advantage of their expertise. Learn from them even from a distance. Join their projects and let them mentor you in caring for the underserved wherever they may be. In a few days, we will celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, in Israel around the world. In addition to being a day of celebration, it's traditionally a day of introspection and commitment. Today, we celebrate you entering the sacred profession of medicine. But as a great man once said, with great power comes great responsibilities. And in a few minutes, you will take your own oath of commitment. to the profession, to your colleagues, and to your patients. This evening is a little bittersweet for me, as I'm not sure what exactly the future holds for our school. But I just want to reassure everyone, I came today straight from the airport. I was in New York yesterday, where I was at a meeting in New York with supporters and leadership of the university and the president of the university, Danny Shaimovitz, who first of all sends his regrets. He personally WhatsApped me a little while ago that wishing he could be here, but he had prior commitments to New York, and he wished to send his congratulations to all of you. And he expressed his unshakable commitment to the global health mission of our school. But in any event, I know that the credos and values of the school will live on in our alumni and in you, my future colleagues. Good luck and welcome to the sacred profession of medicine. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce and say a few words. My predecessor and my personal mentor, Professor Mark Clarfield.
Thank you very much, Professor Jodkowitz, and to you all, especially to the class today. It's a great honor to address you for a few minutes. And Professor Jodkowitz asked me just to say a few words about what's special about this school in the global health domain. And those of you who are Jewish and those of you who are not may know that every week we look at something called, or we study something called the Parashat HaShavua, which is the weekly Torah reading, the weekly reading of the Bible in the synagogue, and then we go home on Friday night or the next day and we discuss how that's meaningful to us during the week. So what's the Parashat HaShavua? Also, if you play with the Hebrew words, and you know I'm a big fan of your learning 2 words a day, it also can be interpreted as a kind of the issue of the week or the event of the week. So Parashat HaShavua this week is the death of Queen Elizabeth. And as a Canadian, I grew up with Queen Elizabeth. I grew up singing God Save the Queen till 1967 when we switched over to O Canada. But she meant a lot to me and to many people, and I sort of watched her death and watched her as a geriatrician. I was actually quite interested in how she ended her life. And I was interested in what it meant to the world and what it meant to me, and what are the lessons for global health. So I have a few. This is a message from the Queen, who says she's sorry she can't be here tonight. But in the 19th century, the great English political scientist and journalist Walter Bagehot, who was the first editor of The Economist, which still is published every week today, described the English system of government in contradistinction to the American system as one made up of sort of two factors. He called one the dignified and one the efficient. The dignified was the crown, the queen, who, even in his day in Victorian England, had no real power. She was a symbol of the state. And the efficient were the people who ran the Daily Show. So the efficient in this particular operation is Jodkowitz and me running the medical education show and all of our team. But tonight, you are taking part in a symbolic event. That's the dignified part of the English Constitution. This is a dignified ceremony. And I'm a great believer in ceremonies and in a ritual. I think that the reason we're standing here tonight is because we believe that sometimes in life you have to sit quietly, put on a white coat, listen to people drone on like me, and yet feel the power of this evening. If any of you watched the ceremony, the funeral of the Queen, which only lasted 6 hours, and I watched every minute of it, you'll be impressed by the power of symbolism. And I was very impressed with that, and I thought I'd bring it to you today. My talk is not 6 hours, but the other lessons from the Queen, and Professor Jodkowitz alluded to it, if you asked her what her job was, and she said it, and she did it, was to give service to her people, to service her people, to act in some way as a giver of service. And she sat through 70 years of service, 15 prime ministers. She met with them every single week for 70 years. Every single British prime minister, starting from Winston Churchill, who was her first prime minister, who was actually her mentor, she said in many interviews, right up till 2 days before she died, where she invested the efficient member of government, that is the new Prime Minister of Britain, Liz Truss. I was very impressed with her dedication to service and her ability to use ceremonies to bring people together. And I think that tonight is really one of those ceremonies where, as a school, we come together, we welcome you into the profession, as Professor Jodkowitz, as our future colleagues. And I hope, since I'm 72 years old and plan to live to 120, many of you would look after me in my old age, which will be several decades from now. The Queen also, when you look at her, how did she balance work and family? Who was I talking to before about work and family? Right. So work and family, it's an issue. It's a problem. It's not insurmountable. I'm married to a doctor. Jodkowitz is married to a doctor. We've managed, and we've managed by thinking, planning, compromising. We have a system in my family called frequent family points. And we give each other frequent family points, like airline points, for doing good things to each other, for each other. So I've got a big bank of frequent family points. If I need my kids to do something for me, they owe me. And I owe them too. So think about, you'll be able to manage this business of family and work as the Queen did. And what she would do, poor thing, when she got tired of her work, she would run up to Balmoral Castle in Scotland, which is a spectacularly beautiful place, and she'd drive around and hike and hunt and things of that nature, which queens of England do. But she was also able to step away from her work, which was not easy, and relax in the bosom of her family. And you'll be able to do the same thing. And it could be something as simple as going for a walk after Friday night dinner. You don't have to go to Balmoral Castle. You have to pick the moment, carpe diem. Pick the moment and use it and step away from the work with your family, with your friends. My only criticism of the Queen, and this relates to me standing here as an ex-head of the school and what Professor Jodkowitz was gracious enough to say, is you have to also know when to step down or step away. And I stepped down from the school about 4 years ago because I had to. What do I mean I had to? We have mandatory retirement in this country. So when I was 69, I had to step down. But I'm very glad I did, because it was time for me. I enjoyed the job, I loved the school, but I didn't need to direct it anymore. And I had the good fortune to hand it over to someone who is exquisitely capable of doing this job and is actually doing a better job than I did. And I think you're really lucky to have Jodkowitz at the helm right now, and his whole team. It's really a splendid group of people. I love working with these people, and even though I'm retired, Professor Glick, when I asked him, Professor Glick, you're so active, aren't you retired? He says, I'm retired from my salary. So I'm retired from my salary too, more or less, but it's a great privilege to be in this school. Think about the Queen when you choose your specialty in a few years' time. Remember, the only specialty to go into is geriatrics. Thank you very much, and God bless you, and your success for the whole evening.
Thank you, Professor Clarfield. Students, when your name is called, please come to their stage to receive a copy of the physician's oath. Yael Amozeg. Hezi Ben Yakar. Joshua Berenbaum. Rebecca Dreyer. Blake Filderman. Nicholas Gaiman. Juliana Gershenbaum-Tobin. Menachem Gestitner. Chaya Bracha Gordon. Yona Grossman. Elizabeth Hare. Mai Harris. Ida Hasson. Hannah Hasson. Matthew Hogan. Forrest Holcomb. Benjamin Honigsfeld. Raphael Ishai. Brian Itkowitz. Iser Korolnik. Jacob Kufperberg. Yasmin Langman. Ariel Lehman. Tamar Lieber. Li Feng. Micah Madsen. Aviva Menashe. Ezra Nadler. Aaron Namond. Sarah Robinson. Jennifer Seifried. Rachel Chapin. Judah Smith. Arina Soklakova. Thank you. The Physician's Oath Ceremony, now an annual event at many medical schools around the world, originated in Israel at Ben Gurion University's medical school in 1974, when the late Professor Moshe Previs, founding dean of the BGU Faculty for Health Sciences, decided that medical students should be sworn in at the beginning rather than at the end of their medical training, as was previously customary. In the tradition established by Professor Previs, students of the first-year class will now take the Physician's Oath. I call Professor Shimon Glick to the podium. Students, please rise.
This is a physician's oath, first actually proposed by Professor Halpern at the first graduation for Hebrew University Medical School in the 1950s. And I'll read it to you. You stand today in the presence of your teachers of medicine and its precepts. You enter into a covenant with medicine to fulfill its commitments to the best of your ability with wisdom and integrity, that there may be established a generation of physicians motivated actively and dedicated faithfully to aid the suffering human being. This is the covenant into which I enter with you today. You are charged to stand at the side of the suffering individual day and night, at all times and at all hours. You shall protect human life maximally from the mother's womb, and let its welfare ever be your chief concern. You shall help the ill, whether stranger, alien, or citizen, of whatever social status. You shall seek to fathom the soul of those who are sick, to restore their spirit through understanding and compassion. Do not be hasty in judgment, but consider your advice carefully, tempering wisdom in the crucible of experience. Be faithful to those who put their trust in you. Do not reveal their secrets, nor act as a gossip. Honor and respect your teachers who have labored to guide you in the path of medicine. Guard the honor of your colleagues zealously, for their honor is your own. Increase wisdom and do not become worn down by the struggle, for wisdom is your life and it has the power to sustain life. Use your wisdom for the health of the public as well as to bring healing to the ills of the community. May the words of this covenant be close and dear to you, articulated clearly and felt deeply that you may carry them out. And you will all respond, Amen.
Amen. We will act accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Glick. I would like to invite Mai Harris to read the class honor code.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We, the MSAH class of 2026, choose to embrace a life of service and to devote our minds, bodies, and souls to a mandate of hope that revitalizes both the individual and the community. As a fallible instrument of this hope, we hold ourselves accountable to our patients, our teachers, our profession, and our peers. We believe the following statements embody immutable and transcendent principle of compassion and justice not already declared in the physician's oath. We pledge, first and foremost, to be empathetic leaders. We understand that health and welfare go far beyond the clinic, and therefore, it is our duty to engage beyond the clinic as well. We will nurture the whole of the communities we serve, prioritizing their needs by listening louder than we speak. We will use the privilege of our positions to elevate the voices of the unheard. We will confront human suffering and injustice, looking for the wounds we can see, listening for those we cannot, and healing both to the best of our abilities. We pledge to honor the dignity and rights of every person, regardless of identity, beliefs, or culture. Being composed of the same flesh and blood, we recognize ourselves as having equal value to all humans. Therefore, we will strive to uphold equitable partnerships with each individual, ensuring they have agency over their care. We pledge ourselves in our commitment to healing to always be students. As medicine evolves, we will adopt and grow alongside it. We will strive to remain curious, passionate, and optimistic, using every misstep and challenge as a humbling opportunity to improve. We will understand our limits and reach out for help when we are in need, so that in turn, we can be reliable sources of help to others. Even in the face of opposition, we will work towards holistic, local, and global health by investing in lasting change. We recognize the need to balance practicality with idealism. We will approach every situation with compassion and humanity, being thorough and integrous in our work and solutions. We pledge to honor these principles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mai. I would like to invite Dr. Alyssa Friedman to please introduce our guest speaker.
I'm grateful for the honor to introduce my colleague and fellow MSIH alumni, Dr. Lily Gutnick. Dr. Gutnick arrived in Beersheba 1 month after I left in 2007. She completed her general surgery residency at the University of Utah and a fellowship in breast surgical oncology at Duke University. During her time in residency, she pursued dedicated research and completed a fellowship and an MPH at Harvard. She was a Fulbright and Fogarty Fellow in Malawi, where her passion for breast cancer in sub-Saharan Africa began. She now serves on the faculty of the University of Alabama, Birmingham, where she also serves as the Vice Chair of Global Surgery and Assistant Program Director for the General Surgery Residency, Global Surgery. Recently, she has joined the MSH faculty, teaching a course in our global health curriculum. As I stand before you, 19 years after I sat in your very seats, I'm awed to count Dr. Gutnick and countless other outstanding emissaries of this university as my colleagues and fellow alumni. Congratulations, class of 2026, and welcome back to Beersheba, Dr. Gutnick.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction and the opportunity to speak today. So some of you here might actually be very scared sitting in your shoes. Some of you might have doubts and fears. I know that because I was. And the reason I was very anxious when I was sitting here in your shoes is because I went into med school knowing I wanted to do surgery. And I learned about MSIH because I was doing a lot of research at Columbia throughout my undergrad. And one of my secondary mentors, a very well-respected, well-funded physician scientist, told me that if I wanted to be a surgeon, that this was a bad idea, that I would never make it in the US because I would be a foreign grad, and foreign grads don't make it as surgeons. Well, here I am today, a surgeon, and not only a surgeon, but I am in a top academic medical center in the US as the vice chair of global surgery. So I stayed true to myself, I listened to my intuition, I carved my path. And for anyone that might have any fears and doubts, I assure you that if you put in the hard work, you can and will succeed. A career in medicine is truly a lifelong journey, and there's no better place to begin it than here. Now, I'm not going to lie, the first 6 months were a very tough transition. I still distinctly remember I grew up in New York City and arrived here from New York on the group flight. We took the coach bus into Beersheba. And while I've been to Israel before, I'd never been to Beersheba. And so kind of arriving, jet-lagged, and Beersheba looked very different 15 years ago, but there was, a lot of dust, not a lot of buildings as you come in. And suddenly in the distance, I see this one tall building. And I perk up, and I'm like, I have to live there. This is the only tall building. This is the only anything around. So after doing some research, it ended up being that it is an apartment building, so thank God I could live there. But the only availability they had, the only way I could live there was if I had a roommate. And I wasn't really thrilled about the idea because I haven't really had roommates. But then I learned that this potential roommate would be a fellow MSIH student. She was a year ahead of me. And she was also a Thai American and a fellow New Yorker. And at the moment, she wasn't there because she was actually in summer break in Paris, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. And so I said, okay, this probably could work out. I probably could live with a New Yorker who spends her summer in Paris. Well, she turned out not only to be an incredible roommate, but one of my closest friends to this day. And it turned out that though I was used to being on my own, being a brand new medical student in a foreign country was a humbling experience, and having a support system was very invaluable. That is a piece of advice I want to share with you, the importance of having your village. It's a popular saying that it takes a village to raise a child, while I think it takes a village to raise a doctor. I'm sure most of you didn't get here today without support. As you move on in your journey, that will continue to be incredibly important. You cannot take care of others if you do not take care of yourself first. Fortunately, as a student in MSIH and in Israel, you will always have an invitation for a Shabbat dinner or a holiday meal, which I strongly encourage you to go no matter what your religious background is. And you'll even have a host family. In fact, I still keep in touch with my host family today and will be seeing them later this evening. The sense of community of support is also seen in the wards. I fondly remember the communal meals we used to share as night shift started in Surgery Aleph. It was just hospital-supplied yogurt, bread, and salad, but it was thoughtfully assembled by the staff, and as a team of doctors, nurses, and anyone else working on the ward, we sat together and shared a meal. It was a simple and kind gesture, but really that bond that helped build a cohesive team. And I'll tell you even an anecdote from this morning. I actually went to visit Shigurugya Aleph and got to meet a lot of, then residents, now attendings, and other attendings that I was so close with. And I'm in the conference room, and suddenly walks in this woman and just stares at me and stops and is in awe that I'm here and remembers my name, and she was the head nurse. And it was through all these meals that we shared and all those nights on calls that we bonded and still, 13 years later, remember. One of the biggest assets you have in MSIH is each other. Not only do I hope you will become lifelong friends, just as Vina and I have, but also lifelong colleagues. I fondly remember my class, the class of 2011, an incredible group of non-traditional medical students. The average age of my class as first years was 28, and I was actually the only second youngest in my class and one of two that actually went directly from medical school. My classmates had all sorts of diverse experiences and backgrounds, including finance, law, active military, and of course, a diverse experience in public health across the globe. I learned as much about health and healing through their collective wisdom as I did within the classroom. I continue to be impressed and amazed by their achievements and ongoing work today, 11 years after we graduated. Due to the unique shared interest that drew us as students, our paths have often crossed in unexpected ways in these years since we graduated. For example, my close friend and colleague, Dr. Rachel Pope, who Dr. Jokowitz mentioned briefly, is now a gynecologist in Cleveland. But since graduating MSIH, we actually unexpectedly overlapped in Lilongwe, Malawi, while I was doing work on breast cancer and she was doing work on obstetric fistulas. But the best story actually happened about a week ago. So I was on a Zoom call with the executive director of an NGO called World Telehealth. We were connected through some other mutual colleagues and thinking about ways to collaborate. So we're on this Zoom. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. The executive director is in Santa Barbara, California, and she's giving me her standard slide deck talking about the organization. And suddenly this picture comes up, and it's a familiar face. And it's a picture of Rachel Pope with a patient in Malawi. And I stopped, and I was like, is that Rachel Pope? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, she's one of my really good friends and classmates from med school. So we laughed. I took a screenshot of it and sent it to Rachel. But this is what it means to work in global health. In addition to the friendships I made, I have many unique and powerful memories of being in medical school here. For example, now diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, has become common vernacular. It seems like every department, academic department in universities and businesses in the US have some sort of DEI teams and mission statements. Cultural competency, another seemingly increasingly present word in modern vocabulary, is central to the mission of DEI. Being here at MSIH, you are living those words and embodying those experiences that truly make you culturally competent in practice and not just words on a mission statement on a website. The COVID-19 pandemic taught us that the world is not as big as we think, and what happens in one village in one country does impact what happens in our own backyards. If we want to truly impact in global health and really adapt the philosophy that global is local, cultural competency is a key requisite. Your lived experience here, both personally adjusting to and learning from a different culture, and professionally from being a medical student abroad in Soroka that has its own unique, fascinating, diverse patient population, allows you to master this critical skill. Having the word doctor in front of your name comes with privilege to be let in people's lives, and with that comes responsibility. It also means you have a platform to learn and to be an advocate. Even before I officially earned that title, as a medical student here, I had incredible experience where I was able to bear witness and to start to really understand what it means to be an advocate. I volunteered a lot in the West Bank and being introduced to a group of Palestinian surgeons being trained by an American pediatric plastic surgeon. I not only accompanied him during his trips, I built relationships with these incredible physicians and eventually went to join them on my own, even without my American mentor. I volunteered with an Israeli organization called Saved a Child's Heart that provided free cardiac care to children from low-resource communities around the world, and remember picking up children and their families from the Israel-Gaza border. I tutored African refugee teenagers and young adults in Tel Aviv. While trying to teach English, I learned about the perils they faced, the pain they experienced along their journey to this strange place. And just like that, the word humanitarian aid had a real face and a real name. It was no longer an aspirational goal or an act of benevolence. It was my lived experience to help me shape me as a person and surgeon I am today. We are particularly living in a world with a need for collective advocacy. There are current wars where people are suffering from acute mental and physical trauma, a climate crisis that has tangible health outcomes, parts of the world with systemic racism, which is a huge contributor to health disparities and worse health outcomes, and a women's health crisis in the U.S., where no matter what political, moral, or religious beliefs one might have, doctors are facing unprecedented, excruciatingly painful and difficult scenarios where they have to choose to first do no harm, a reminder of the oath that you all just took, and act on their best medical judgment to take care of their patients or risk potential criminal charges. These are huge, complex problems to tackle, but they all start with humility, compassion, and curiosity. To hone these characteristics, I urge you to take advantage of every opportunity inside and outside the classroom these next 4 years. Learn Hebrew. Even if it's hard, even if you have enough to learn, like medicine, besides another language that also could be seemingly useless, your experience living and learning in Israel is so much better and more meaningful, even if you have some basic Hebrew skills. And you never know how it'll be handy for you whenever you do next after MSIH. Take advantage of your time off and discover Israel and the surrounding region. This is a fascinating part of the world, rich in history and traditions. Even on a student budget, is the trip you didn't take that you will look back and regret. I leave you with my favorite Hebrew proverb, Gam ze yavor, this too shall pass. It's a phrase I've relied on and repeated and even wore on a carved bracelet during challenging times of this journey in medicine. Yet it is also a phrase to be remembered when times are good, as a reminder to savor the moment, choose courage over comfort, because even the best and most memorable moments too shall pass. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Gutnick. I am pleased to call upon Yasmin Langman, representative of the class of 2026, to give the class address.
Hi, everyone. What a speech to follow. Thank you so much for joining us for this celebratory occasion, and a special thank you to those who are watching through their devices at what I'm sure is a deeply inconvenient time. We appreciate your love and support very much. This ceremony is a moment that we have been working towards for much of our lives. For some of us, this has been a childhood ambition. For others, we've been brought here by the culmination of our life's experiences. Regardless, we've all worked extremely hard to get to this spot and are finally here, together, sharing in this very special passage that will propel us towards our dream careers. After we've received our coats, taken our oaths, and smiled for our commemorative pictures, we must take a moment to remember that tomorrow we will still have biostats at 8:45 a.m. But for now, I'd like to speculate on what the future has in store for us and why, no matter how daunting, I believe we are prepared to face whatever may come. What a truly exciting time it is to begin a career in medicine. We are facing not one but several global pandemics, complete antibiotic resistance is on the horizon, and to top it all off, mistrust of medicine and doctors is on the rise. We live in a time in which doctors are losing people's confidence to infographics posted in Facebook groups. So let us cherish this insular bubble in which we all have at least some faith in medicine. On the more optimistic side, incredible scientific and medical breakthroughs are being made every day. We have never had such a deep and profound understanding of the world around us, and consequently, we have never had so much to memorize for our board exams. It really is amazing how terrifying and widespread antibiotic resistance is. I really cannot stress this enough. We also have the unique privilege of working with students and staff from around the world. And I think someone should tell that to our professors because they keep referring to us as all being American. We have several students from Toronto. This global exposure has solidified the fact that we are far more alike than we are different. Regardless of whether you're from France, Vietnam, Australia, or Norway, we can all agree that Dykeman Room 123 is not a suitable environment for learning, and we should be moved upstairs. Please. We've been together for almost 2 months, and it really has started to feel like a family. We feel comfortable around each other. We care about each other. We stab each other with needles. But in all seriousness, I feel genuinely lucky to be surrounded by such a kind, thoughtful, and unique group of people. In these past 2 months, we've also faced some setbacks. We can't forget how our official welcome to Israel, the rocket alarms, happened in the first week of classes. And of course, there is the heat, the constantly evolving schedule, the ongoing struggle of classroom placement, the heat. I could go on. But these challenges and every future obstacle we face will give us the tools we need to handle the elusive real world. I have every confidence that in these next 4 years, we will utilize our opportunities to the fullest and dedicate ourselves to finally becoming capable of giving sound medical advice to our friends when they call us. No, you don't have a life-threatening illness. It's just eczema. Good luck to us, team. I'm so proud of us for getting here, and I'm so excited to go on this journey with you. I'll see you in biostats first thing tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to follow that. Thank you, Yasmin. And also, what I was talking about in my speech, Lily, I think, beautifully encapsulated what could be the life and goals of an MSH alumni, and we're all in awe of what she does and her whole career path. And it's all welcome to you to find your own path, and everything is open to you. At this point, I just want to thank a few people at the end of our ceremony. First of all, I want to thank all the family and friends of our students who are partners in this journey that our students are starting and will go on for the next 4 years and through. As the partner of a medical student, resident, and senior doctor, not at the same time, but conceptually over a 10-year period, I can testify how difficult it was. The benefits are worth it, but it was a hard journey being a partner, I have to say. So whoever the partner and families, you're also going to be in for a difficult ride, but it's a commitment that together you'll make, and I'm sure you'll get through it together. But even right now, at the beginning of medical school, I think we all owe a big thanks to the partners, the families, the friends of the students who will help them. As Lily said, you have to take care of yourself, and the best way to take care of yourself is through social connections. I also We don't have family frequent flyer points in my family. I don't know what you're talking about. Just take out the garbage. I don't know. No points. I don't get any points for that. I just get it back in my face. But okay, so maybe your family's a little different, Professor Clarfield. Okay. So I want to thank our staff in Beersheba and New York who are watching. Hi, everyone in New York. I want to thank you for all you do. I particularly want to thank, I don't know where she is, Miri. Hi, Miri. For putting together this evening, right when she came back to work. I don't know if she's just back, how long? A couple of weeks? 2 weeks from maternity leave for the birth of her second child, and she just delved right in, and this happened all because of Miri. And also I want to thank Miss Leo Ranieri, who takes care of everything in the program. Nothing would happen without her hard work and dedication, really 24/7 to the program and students, and I, along with everyone else, want to thank her for all her efforts. Tonight, we are also saying thank you and goodbye to an amazing woman who you have all gotten to know well in the past year, Ms. Beth Chesser. Her dedication to MSH and its students know no bounds, and I publicly want to thank her for years in service and dedication to MSH. Thank you, Beth. We will miss you. And thank you all, and welcome to the Pressure of the Medicine.
We will conclude the ceremony with singing of Israel's national anthem. I invite Ida Hasson to accompany us in singing of Hatikva. Please rise.
Okay, just test that that's working.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, Ida. And thank you all. Have a great rest of your evening.